Darkness falls, a life ensnared. The air hung heavy with unspoken words. A suffocating tension filled the room. Every interaction felt like walking on eggshells. This was Sarah's life, a life entangled with a narcissist. His name was Mark, a man who could charm the birds from the trees, yet harbored a darkness beneath his captivating facade. He craved admiration, thrived on control, and manipulated every situation to paint himself as the victim. Sarah felt trapped, her spirit slowly being crushed under the weight of his narcissistic tendencies. The narcissist's grip trapped in their web. It's a suffocating experience, like being ensnared in an invisible trap that tightens with every move you make. Mark's subtle jabs, disguised as jokes, chipped away at Sarah's self-esteem. Each comment, though seemingly harmless, was a calculated move to undermine her confidence. He belittled her accomplishments, dismissed her feelings, and gaslighted her into questioning her own sanity. His words were like poison, slowly eroding her sense of self. Doubts crept in like venomous vines, constricting her sense of self-worth. She felt trapped, unable to see a way out of the darkness that enveloped her. Sarah tried to reason with him, to explain how his actions made her feel. She hoped that by communicating she could reach the man she once loved. But her words were met with denial, deflection, and counter-accusations. Every attempt to bridge the gap only widened it, leaving her more isolated. Mark was a master manipulator, twisting her words and turning the tables to make her feel like the problem. His tactics were insidious, making her doubt her own reality. The more she struggled against his web of control, the more entangled she became. It was a vicious cycle, one that left her feeling powerless and alone. Unmasking the illusion. A desperate search for escape. Sarah had been living in a world of shadows, where the lines between reality and illusion blurred. Every day felt like a battle to reclaim her sense of self. Years went by, and Sarah felt her spirit withering under Mark's oppressive presence. The once vibrant and lively woman found herself trapped in a cycle of emotional turmoil, her dreams and aspirations slowly fading away. The vibrant, confident woman she once was had faded into a shadow of her former self. The joy that once lit up her eyes was replaced with a dull, lifeless stare, a stark contrast to the person she used to be. She knew she had to break free from his grasp, but how? Sarah scoured self-help books, attended therapy sessions, and spent countless nights reflecting on her situation, searching for a way out of the darkness, and confided in trusted friends. They offered her support and a listening ear, but the path to freedom seemed elusive, like a distant dream just out of reach. She desperately sought a way to navigate the minefield of Mark's narcissism, a way to protect herself from his emotional abuse. Each step felt like walking on eggshells, never knowing when the next outburst would come, a way to protect herself from his emotional abuse. The constant fear and anxiety took a toll on her mental health, leaving her feeling isolated and vulnerable. Then one day she stumbled upon a glimmer of hope, a seemingly simple yet profoundly powerful phrase. It was a reminder that she had the strength within her to reclaim her life, to break free from the chains that bound her. Whispers of Truth, discovering the secret phrase. The phrase was so unexpected, so disarmingly simple, that at first Sarah dismissed it as too good to be true. "You're right," it whispered, promising a way to deflect Mark's narcissistic tendencies and reclaim her power. The more Sarah thought about it, the more sense it made. Narcissists crave attention, validation, and control. By agreeing with them, by giving them the illusion of being right, she could potentially disarm their need to engage in further manipulation. The tables turn. You're right. The next time Mark launched into one of his self-centered tirades, twisting a situation to paint himself as the victim, Sarah took a deep breath and uttered those two powerful words. "You're right." The effect was instantaneous. Mark's face contorted in confusion. He had expected her usual resistance, her attempts to defend herself. The air crackled with the unexpected shift in power dynamics. Reclaiming power. The narcissist disarmed, with nothing to argue against, no one to blame. Mark's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. He sputtered, searching for his usual weapons of manipulation. But Sarah's simple agreement had disarmed him. Over time, Sarah continued to use this phrase strategically. She didn't engage in arguments, didn't try to reason with his distorted reality. She simply agreed, offering him the hollow victory of being right. In doing so, she slowly but surely shifted the balance of power. Finding peace, the liberating impact of the phrase. In the midst of chaos and emotional turmoil, finding peace can seem like an impossible task. Yet sometimes the simplest phrases can have the most profound impact on our lives. The more Sarah used this phrase, the less power Mark had over her. It was as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders, allowing her to breathe freely for the first time in years. As she found herself standing taller, speaking more confidently, and feeling a sense of empowerment she had long forgotten. His attempts to manipulate and control lost their potency. Each time he tried to provoke her, he was met with a calm and composed response. This unexpected reaction left him bewildered and increasingly frustrated. He craved a reaction, a fight, a way to feed his ego. His anger and aggression were met with a serene and unyielding calmness that he couldn't penetrate. The more he pushed, the more he realized that his tactics were no longer effective. But Sarah's calm agreement starved him of the narcissistic supply he craved. Her composed demeanor and simple acknowledgement of his words left him with nothing to grasp onto. It was as if she had found a secret weapon that rendered his manipulative efforts useless. Sarah began to reclaim her life, her voice, her sense of self. She started exploring new hobbies, rediscovering passions that had been buried under years of emotional abuse. Each day she grew stronger, more resilient and more in tune with her true self. The darkness that had shrouded her for so long began to lift. Rays of hope and light started to pierce through the gloom, illuminating a path forward. She could see a future where she was no longer a victim but a survivor and a thriver. She had found a way to navigate the treacherous terrain of narcissism, not by fighting, but by disarming. Her journey was not about confrontation, but about finding inner peace and strength. She learned that true power comes from within, and that sometimes the most effective way to win a battle is to refuse to engage in it. The phrase, "you're right," became her shield, her weapon, and ultimately her path to freedom. It was a simple yet profound way to disarm her abuser, to take back control of her life and to find a sense of peace and autonomy. This seemingly simple phrase, wielded with understanding and a touch of irony, holds the power to dismantle the narcissist's control, offering a glimmer of hope to those trapped in their web. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a way to find light and reclaim one's life.